So, what did you guys discuss? Where do you think we are on the continuum?
Like that.
So I'm not just looking for we're here and then call it good. I'm looking for an explanation too. All right. So where do you think? Somebody want to take a stab?
Tradition.
In tradition?
We think we're on the downslope.
On the down slope, on the right hand side.
So it's now time to regroup and revisit it and get back on the
Okay, so now time to regroup and revisit. Okay.
Our group was looking at, we didn't call it down spiral, but we thought we were between traditions and bureaucracy. But we do not think we're on the death spiral.
No. Okay.
Is because some of the stuff we talked about is there's certain things when you're part of a church that's closing its doors, a lot of things are happening that you see in different areas, and so we don't see those things, but we're looking at, yes, some of the traditions and bureaucracy keep us from doing other things.
I think evidence that all of you are here today is evidence that you are not in a death spiral.
And with that, to your point before, that adaptive change, to use that term, and everything else that we're doing to get back in that band of excellence, those two lines there, to keep the church in there, which is where we always want to have our organization be. But that's how we get there, is assessing where we're at regularly and keeping it there. But right now, I think we are between, as Dave said.
I think our team decided that we was on the lead. We've already been through the other deal. Yeah. And we're, boy, did we escape death.
You cheated death, Alvin.
Now, with this, we're back to the sea.
Well, Pastor, I'd just like to share, I think, if not everybody here, most know that we came from a church that actually closed its doors. And so we've been part of a dying and a dead church. And I can tell you that this is not what I see here. But I do see something that is a bad signal, and it was characteristic of us being on the death spiral at faith. And that is, there is no broad involvement in the activities of the congregation. And that's what I see. I see the same faces, I see the same people enthusiastic about things, but I don't see the broad involvement.
It's a good question.
And that's an encouragement that I think all of us need to take to heart to encourage others. Others that are maybe not in Bible study, maybe others that are not involved in some of the social things. Steve went to get lunch, so, but, kind of a plug. Hey, we're going to have an Oktoberfest in November. All right, what an opportunity to get together as people and interact and get to know one another. Well, I think Donna was next. Donna, did you have something?
Our group thought also that we are at the need.
The need stage.
Right, and through the course of this summer, you've you've seen what we need, and we've been working, and the Bible studies have shown that we are in need, and now we're headed toward getting a vision so that we can keep climbing.
Yeah, to grow again.
Because if you don't have a vision, the church dies.
Yeah.
We jumped from bureaucracy back over to need.
Yeah.
Which is actually what happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. As you get to this point, you go, uh-oh, something's got to change. We've got a need. So we start over again before we jump into, as Dave put it, the death spiral. I don't know who had their hand up next. Ricardo?
I think two things that we could do. So my mom told me apparently that when I was little I actually came here, and ever since she told me that, I've been having dreams when I was here. I have exact memories, but I remember something distinct about the church. There was a lot of people between the ages of 30 to 40. Because I was thinking, we need to bring people my age, and I was thinking maybe that's a little too hard. But the people that are 30 to 40 typically have kids. And when people have kids, they start to think a little bit more about what's beyond. Because, it just happens. Like it happened to my dad, it happened to my mom. So I was thinking maybe we needed to instead recruit people more of that age group. And on top of that, there's one more thing I was thinking. The scheduling. We need to find the schedule of the average Joe between that age and adapt to that schedule. It sounds really, really hard and difficult because I have a lot of free time on my hands, but I'm thinking, the more I talk to these people, I'm realizing, they don't have so much time on their hands. If we just adapt to their schedule, to the average Joe, you know what I mean, the 9 to 5 and all that, maybe they'll be more inclined to say, well, yeah, I have free time on that day. I could go that Bible study or so not.
Ricardo, that man that's directly across from you right now is smiling because that's who you're talking to.
Yep.
That's the average Joe with a bunch of kids, and he's trying to find a schedule.
I think you're on the right track. That targeted group to grow the church, that's how you do it. To get the youth involved, you have to have people that have youth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to your point.
It just came instantaneously. I don't even think it's my idea.
And it wasn't because you were staring at Joe, right?
And we did revisit times and all. We had a discussion over that. I don't know if you were here yet. And we talked about how that could change later. But this is getting into the other parts.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the need also, but within our table, we were talking about the generations. We have the baby boomers, we have the millennials, we have Gen X or Gen Z and Gen X. We don't understand those generations, like Steve was pointing out, even as a supervisor position. If you don't understand the nature of the Gen X versus the nature of the Gen Zs, they won't communicate together, so you have to figure out what your need is for those generations.
Okay, good point.
I think one of the things that we tend to do is to admire Ascension Lutheran as it used to be. That's gone. So you need to rebuild this church for this time.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting around and admiring the problem and admiring the past. That's kind
Without compromising core values.
of
Without compromising core values.
good choice.
Charlene,
Thank you.
I agree with you, but the problem is this church gets very entrenched in what it has been. And when change is hard. And so when you start trying to bring about change, you bump up against those people who've like, no, you're not going to change Ascension. This is the way it's always been. This is the way we're always going to do it.
But I think we have to recognize that first, that we are entrenched and we are admiring what it used to be.
If we take the value of what it used to be, like you're saying, and translate the part that we can into the next generation, so to speak. But if everybody doesn't get on board with that concept, then we just have ongoing chaos. Exactly.
Nobody wants to get up early in the morning.
Ricardo.
I think another thing we could do is, and I know it might sound simple and old dumb, but I think it works because I'm seeing something again. I'm noticing that on Sunday, that's when the congregation is at its largest. But on Tuesday or Bible studies during days of the week, that's when they're at their smallest. Maybe we could change all of our activities to like the weekend or a little bit past 8. Maybe you might see more involvement because more people have time to go. I know for him it's a bad example because all your kids are busy, but most people like him that have kids already, at Saturday they're like completely free. So they might be more inclined to show up. At least my family, the families that live around my block, that's what I'm seeing. On Saturday they're up.
Free on Saturday?
Not today.
Not today.
In fact, actually, early days or something. So, yeah. But to that point, the planning and scheduling of things is important, and planning out ahead. Not strategic planning, that's not the short term. What we might be able to do, and this goes for every family in my situation, would be, well, if we know what's going on a month from now, maybe we can adjust that. And so maybe some things can be adapted like that.
Or you could ask them one-to-one, like, hey, like what what's your schedule look like? And then, get like the massive, okay, this is what most people's schedules look like, and we adapt to that.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but you also, again, have to realize you can't be all things to all people.
That is true.
So like for example, you change Tuesday night Bible study to, what'd you say, 8 o'clock?
Or Saturday.
And you may lose people, but you have to ask, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have a Saturday men's breakfast.
Yeah.
That was very popular. And when Tuesday came around, it was, well, no one's going to go to Tuesday because everyone goes to Saturday. And then Tuesday became very popular on people doing that as well. And when COVID hit, it was easier for people to do Tuesday on Skype or whatever it was, Zoom. But also for the ladies, you have one in the evening, you have one in the morning. There were two that were in the morning. And so you are fitting some of that in. But it's the participation piece, I think, that we're getting after. Are people willing to and understand the generational differences?
This is a great opportunity. We have the Tuesday, but if you decide that there's another group that has a different time frame, just start another Bible study. That's the opportunity that comes in. You say, okay, this time doesn't fit, but this time does. Where three are gathered, whether you've got another Bible study going.
And that's how we created the Tuesday. Yeah, that's how we created the Tuesday. Well, somebody had an idea and started coming.
So does anybody read my newsletter articles?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because a couple of months ago, that's exactly what I talked about. I talked about here's an opportunity we have to start new Bible studies. We've got the ones that we've got, but there's opportunities to start more. And what that is, and I'll just talk about it very briefly, is what they call small group ministry. Okay, where it's a nucleus. It may be just, for example, just like the group around your table. That's a group that gets together and they get together socially. They study the Bible. They are genuinely concerned about what's going on in each other's lives. They support each other. The relationship building really takes place. And that's one of the things that actually helps grow the church. One of the things that they encouraged us to do at our last church was join what they called life groups. And so, of course, Dave knows, we live out in the middle of nowhere. And so for us really to get anywhere, it's like 20 minutes into town. So, but we joined the life group, and we must have 20 people in that life group. But I asked Pastor Moreno, I said, well, how many of these life groups do you have? He goes, oh, we got like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And what it is these people genuinely concerned about what's going on in people's lives. I can tell you, every Sunday evening, they are praying for Essential Lutheran Church. Okay? They are praying for you. Okay? And they're praying for me that I survive you. So anyhow, you see how important that is, that relationship? And it's those relationships that you have with each other that help grow the church. Is you invite more people into your small group. I've had small groups and we said, hey, you guys really got to split because you're too big. You're going to have to start meeting in the sanctuary for crying out loud. Which is a good problem to have, just so you know. But that's the way it is.
And the life groups, what does it involve? Just discussion?
We get together. For example, when I left, we were starting the Book of John. A lot of study manual that we would read, scripture. When we would talk about the different lessons when we get together. Sometimes we would go out to a concert together. Sometimes we would have like a little potluck or something like that. If somebody was sick, we supported them. either through visits or cards and things like that. So it's just genuinely providing support to everybody else in the group. Okay, so
We've had that, and it was like dinner for 8, and I remember.
dinner for 8 is similar, very similar.
But I don't know if Crystal and David were with us.
Yes.
When somebody had a little baby, when we visited them, and then we went to Las Cruces for dinner one time. And I know we used to go to baseball games together, and it was.
Steve Meitner put those things together. That guy.
Well-
Baseball games. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but anyway.
I think part of that concern though is we have those tables of 8 and the groups get close, but then there was no rotate, like musical chairs. We need to rotate, so we get tight with another new group. But people were like, no, I
It's a different, I was on that committee, we sat down
I
and
was
put
gonna
in.
say, I can tell you several times that we were in different groups, that's
Oh,
how we
yeah.
got to meet different.
We did.
people.
Maybe
make
you got it at
different
the end, but
Yeah.
I don't know, but we really tried to make sure that we got people knowing,
Yeah,
not just the same group getting together.
Right.
It was.
We were there resistance to even starting a table of 8 right now.
oh, that was good, our 4th of July that night.
Well, but here's the key. Here's the key. If you look at it as a
And
smaller
Ron
group,
and I would go with numbers.
and you look at the opportunity you can have as the table of
We
8,
went to.
and how you grow in your relationship
Yeah,
with
from
each
you,
other.
I guess, but not.
There's no reason why you can't start it right now. Now, and maybe it starts with a handful of people. But what do those handful of people do?
Invite.
Thank you very much. I was going to look at you, Dave, but she beat you to it.
And they take pictures and post them, and then invite you.
That's right. Invite
Yeah,
more.
that's a good idea.
I would like to see that sort of thing start showing up in our newsletter. Hey, look at what this group is doing. You can be part of this.
But I think what happens around here is if you put up a list and say, are you interested in a table of 8? Nobody signs up. You put up a list of, we need volunteers for this. Nobody signs up. If you one-on-one start approaching people,
Yeah.
hey, would you guys like to get to dinner, on such and such? Yes. So it seems like
Maybe
we're
that's
all
the
standing around
whole
waiting.
our church.
Right, for somebody to take the first step inside the wildfire dance for some reason.
How do you?
I mean, Chris, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But I think where it really begins with, who's the one who actually does that? It begins with the passion that we have as people to really kind of make it happen. And so it becomes everybody's, for lack of a better term, job to be going out and talking to other people about what's going on in the opportunities. I think we have a real opportunity with what Regina puts out on Friday, to talk about the different things that are going on. I'm very happy we're getting more things in that newsletter. So a Friday newsletter, so people know what's going on, opportunities. But then those that are involved in it, here's an opportunity for them to be reaching out to other people to be able to grow that. So it's a good point. It's a good opportunity for us. But you see, that's involvement. That's us being involved in who we are. Okay? Now, I was a little off on my time, just so you know. I'm off by like 25 minutes. So, a couple of things we can do. I was scheduling a break, which is supposed to be a break for lunch at 11:30. I didn't realize Steve was going to go get the lunch at 11:30. That's my fault.
No.
If you don't mind, I would like to just jump in and start talking about consensus, and then we'll take a break when Steve gets back. Okay? All right. So the next session that I would like to go through is starting this discussion on consensus. I want to do it in a little more detail than we did in the Bible study. I looked at the Bible study as being pretty much like a 3,000-foot flyover, okay? As to what consensus was about. Now, the way that business, or even the military, looks at strategic planning, and the way church looks at strategic planning, they're different, okay? Now, coming out of the business and civil service types of organization structures, and I know the guys in the military and whatnot, when they do strategic planning, how does it happen? It starts where? It starts at the top, and it filters down to the guy who's actually going to do the work. Okay? In the church, it's different, because it starts at the bottom and works its way up. Every company I've ever worked for, the big guys, sit in the corner office on the 10th floor. It's like, here's what we're going to do, and everybody smartly salutes and gets on with it. All right, doing what it is we need to do. Congregations are different. All right, because congregations, as we look at the needs and whatnot, we know that at the grassroots level, we're the ones that are going to make whatever has to happen. Now, what this does for a church, which is different than you'll find in the secular world, is it creates an element of transparency. All right? So you know what I mean when I say transparency? That means that everyone knows what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, it's probably because you're either not interested or you're not involved. For example, we can put things in the Friday newsletter, we can put it in the monthly newsletter, we can have a screen on Sunday, I can talk about it and things like that, but I still get people sometimes say, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. Okay, why? Okay, why does that happen? So one of the things we try to do with this is we try to be as transparent as we can. Now, so in the church, the congregation is involved in the whole process. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to involve everybody in the process. We had a sign up. I'm sorry I didn't go ask every single individual to be here. And you guys, I understand, we're twisting arms last Sunday to get people to sign up to come, which is good. I'm very thankful everybody's here. But I also want you to notice there are people who are not here. All right? And those are the people that, because they're not here, we have to bring them along. All right? So in essence, you guys become the guys, the folks who are in the know. Okay? And so this process involves everyone. Now, I know there were some people who told me they couldn't be here for whatever reason, and that's fine. But we've got another couple sessions we're going to have to go through. Not going to be as long as they are today, but we have another session, a couple sessions we're going to have to go through to get through everything that we have to get through. And so it's incumbent to maybe let those who are not here, maybe let them know what it is went on here. Some people said, hey, can you offer this twice? And I said, no, you can't. Because what happens is that second group loses the benefit of what happened here. Now, Mike's recording it, which is a good thing. If they want to watch online, they can do that. All right? And then if they want to do it to prepare for the next sessions, fine, we can do that. But I think part of what's incumbent upon all of us is to help others who have not come here to really understand what it is we accomplished here today. Okay? And so what I want to do is, we'll do it as a large group discussion. When you look at what we're trying to do here, how do you think this approach to strategic planning compares to that of the secular approach. How do you think that? I just open that one up. We'll do it as a group, because that'll get us closer to time to eat.
Well, isn't the secular people of privilege, people that are already ordained, people already at the top, like a house of lords going to meet a king, versus this is like the common man going to speak their concerns and grievances to the pastor as a leader?
Okay. See, one of the reasons I bring this up is because of all the discussion at the cottage meetings. Okay, because at the cottage meetings, one of the feelings was that the congregation was losing control of the direction of the church. And that's a genuine feeling. Anytime we feel as though we're not, we love to be in control of ourselves, don't we? And anytime we don't feel as though we're in control, you get this anxiety that grows. And so there was a feeling that there was not enough involvement of the congregation in the decision-making process. So consequently, people felt their voices were not being heard. Now, they weren't being heard either through shyness, through fear of reprisal, or whatever other reason you want to have. All right? But people were feeling alienated. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take that out of the picture. We want to include. One of the questions I asked when we were getting ready for today, I said, how many tables can we fit in here, and can we put TVs out in the narthex for the overflow of people to be here? I'm a little short on my estimate of who was going to be here, but that's all right. But you see what I was trying to do. I wanted to make sure everybody has a voice. And that's what we need to do. That's just as a people of God. All right? And so, Joe, you have something?
I was going to say about the question itself. You have a single decision maker, period. Yeah. So military, eventually there is a person that's at the table, this is what we're going to do. Business side, I've been there too. Also, you have that decision maker, whoever it's going to be. What's different here is that, we have a consensus and buy-in as far as we may not all agree with the plan we come up with, but we all have to support it and we all understand the why am I. Because we're all part of the process, whereas in other areas we're just not. That's my take on that.
Okay.
Not the right time to say it.
No, that's fine.
Because that's what this is, right? This is like a congressional meeting. It's like, it seems like it's organized like that.
I don't have a gavel, I'm sorry. Crystal.
So Pastor, to some extent, you're preaching a little bit to the choir, because obviously the people that are here, like you, I see the same faces, being involved, doing the same activities that make the church function as a church. How do we involve those that are on the sidelines, who are either not interested or primaries or elsewhere? How do we bring them into it and then let it develop from there? If we don't get them involved, particularly in this process, because you say this is coming out of the cottage meetings, I can't believe that would be uttered by anybody in this room, because these are the people participating and that have been running this church. So how do those people who are raising the issue at cottage meetings respond to?
Yeah, one of the things I think we can all agree, we can advertise all we want.
Right.
So we can say, hey, we need, and I'll just pick on the Sunday school thing. Hey, we would like to start Sunday school for youth and for children. All right? And so we talked about that. I talked about it a few times, but we really didn't have anybody stepping forward. It wasn't until the elders and Elliot started asking people, hey, will you support it? Will you support it? so we get into that personal relationship we have, that personal knowledge we have of how God has gifted people, which we're going to talk about here this afternoon. I think that becomes a part of it. That as we understand people's gifts, that we pretty much have an idea as to who to ask. And of course, I don't discount the power of prayer. I try to tell people, people look at church leadership, and so they got a nominating committee, and I'm not a fan of just go, okay, let's go through the directory. Oh, well, here's somebody we can tap to do this. Here's somebody we can tap to do this. It doesn't work it shouldn't work that way. I always tell people, pray over these names. Pray over how God has gifted them. Pray how it is they can be in that kind of position and lead this congregation. And I can tell you, when nominating committees do that, there are names that drop off the list because that's not that person's gift. They may be well liked. They may be just a real good chum or whatever. That's not how God is gifted. And so I think it gets down to, we know the advertising doesn't work. I think it gets down to the personal interaction. I think is the way we have to approach that. And I'll tell you, I'm one of the worst offenders. If you advertise it and people feel led, they would do it. And I can tell you it's never worked. And so what do they say if, you keep doing the same thing over again, you're not going to get a different result? Yeah. So I think that's one thing that's really kind of incumbent upon all of us. As we see things that, maybe are part of our passion, sure, jump in and be involved. Maybe you don't lead it, but maybe you support it. But then you'll also maybe ask somebody else to help, or somebody else to help in that situation. I can tell you in our last church, we had a fellowship committee. We had really 3 people who were really gung-ho for it. And trying to plan all these things for fellowship. And I'm like, you can't do that by yourself. But we had like 15 to 20 people that liked to support it. So they would come in and help. They didn't want to lead it, but they would help. And how did that happen? They were asked. All right, so that's what I think we have to do.
Pastor, you and I have talked about this before, and I mentioned it before. We have to accept that some people's definition of what their vision is for this church is to have a pastor that comes in, preaches a good, timely sermon, on Sunday.
What's the time? Okay.
And doesn't go over, and gives communion, and it's good music that everybody agrees with, that they like, and then it's done. They don't see any other purpose for church other than that.
They want the ritual?
They want the ritual, and that's it. They don't want to be a part of table A. They don't want the fellowship. They don't want to serve on any committees. They don't think church should do anything else. That's their sole goal, is to come sit with you on Sunday and listen to you speak a godly sermon that doesn't run over time.
It doesn't go over time.
Right. There are some people in this church, that's all they want.
Yeah. And I can tell you, in churches, you just don't know when it happens, but you'll find people that what happens is all of a sudden like a light bulb goes on. And all of a sudden the Word of God is really connecting with them. And they really see that there's more of a purpose to this than just coming and checking a box on Sunday. Now, I can't tell you when that happens, but I can tell you I know it happens. I've been able to witness it. And so it just gets back to just continuing to build those relationships that you have with one another, especially those relationships with people who want to come and just check the box.
Is there a way to possibly let a lot of the congregation know that it's really a community now that I'm like been here for like a little bit of time? That it's really more of a community, a really interactive community. That could really help out, give some support, and then maybe, I mean, and it's a good place, especially if they're in with your own age range, to find friends or stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we talk about. We talk about the community. We talk about the body of Christ, and we are the body of Christ. That we're all part of this community in this place where God has placed us. Okay, and we're going to talk about assets and things like that here this afternoon. All right. So, Steve, how close are you?
We're ready whenever you are.
All right. So I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and break there, but let's go ahead and let's say the common table prayer.